Hey, welcome to Top 3. We are so glad that you've tuned in. You know, I love 2013. Are you guys loving it?
Yes, loving it. Yes,
I know we're already, you know, into it and everything, but I just can't tell you what a great year it's been. And it's good to see all your faces. We've got a great show for you today. Who's our musical guest?
We got the SOG Crew. They've been here before. We love having them.
That's right. And we've got a special guest for you that this guy right here, he knows he's going to be doing
Timothy
some traveling
Parsons.
with. I wasn't going to say who. I was going to say.
Tell me that. We didn't talk about this.
That's okay.
It's cool.
I was just going to say, you want to hear this, okay? If you've ever felt like a stranger in a strange land, then you're going to really identify with this guy. So keep it right here. It's Top 3.
You and I, we hugging, keep it moving, girl, it has me bugging. All for the name to come true without you, better believe, girl, I'm talking to you. You're never alone, cause it's you that I'm loving. Pray to God to help me say something.
Hey guys, Melissa here. Welcome to News Blast. Let's take a look at what's making news. Pastor Youssef is back home with his family after being arrested a second time in Iran. A few months ago, the Christian pastor was freed from prison and acquitted on charges that he converted from Islam to Christianity. He was rearrested Christmas Day, but thankfully has now been released. However, continue to pray for his lawyer. He is still in jail, serving a 9-year prison sentence for his work to free the pastor. I certainly hope you appreciate your freedom of religion. If you want a glimpse of history, you can now see the greatest archaeological event of our time right from your own home. The Dead Sea Scrolls are now online. You can take a look at these ancient biblical texts at deadseascrolls.org.il. Again, deadseascrolls.org.il. Definitely something to check out. It's really cool to click through all the parchments and see them. Turning to music news, one of our favorite worship leaders has a new album. Check out Burning Lights from Chris Tomlin. The New York Times, USA Today, and Billboard have all given the album great reviews because of its solid songwriting and stirring melodies. Tomlin will launch his nationwide Burning Lights tour this spring along with Carrie Job. Definitely a good show to check out. And finally, there's a new fashion trend in Asia, something a bit unusual: braces. It seems braces in Asia are a status symbol, so teens are attaching fake braces to their teeth to give the illusion of wealth. These fake braces come in a variety of colors and designs. Hello Kitty and Mickey Mouse are two popular choices. Wow, that's a very strange fad if you ask me. I won't be getting that anytime soon. Well, thanks for hanging out with me here on the News Blast set. You're watching Top 3.
For me, when I had nothing, pray for me till I became something. All for the dream to come true without you, better believe, girl, I'm talking to you. From a street MC till we started bumping, work out around and our crew started buzzing. All for the dream
Hey, welcome to Top 3's Yes No segment. I'm Reba, this is Preston, and we are so excited today because we have Timothy and we are going to grill him. We're going to ask you a series of questions to which you can only answer yes or no.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever eaten out of the garbage can before?
No. No.
Have you ever eaten an alligator?
No.
Have you ever been without food for a week?
No.
Have you ever been in the swamplands?
Yes.
Have you ever been without food for a day?
Yes.
Did you grow up in the city?
Yes.
Did you grow up in the United States?
Yes.
Are your first memories of the countryside?
No.
Can you pick yourself out easily of a large family portrait?
Of course. Of course.
Of course, that's not a yes or a no. We said yes or
yes.
no. Okay, we've got a lot of questions to ask Timothy. You guys keep it right here. It's Top 3.
I would never do it unless I can do it with you. With you. With you. With you. If I can change the world, I would never do it unless I can do it with you.
Hi, I'm Larissa, this is Rich, and we are here. It's great to be at the Top 3 set. We are with a very, very special guest, and we're going to be talking about some very important things about missions because this guy has an incredible testimony you're not going to want to miss out on, and he's been working in business development with CMC International, but really we're going to hear his heart and why he cares so much about other people in other countries. Thank you so much, Timothy Parsons, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Come on, the man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Now you survived the hot seat over there with Reba and Preston a little bit.
Did you enjoy that first off?
It was entertaining, I think.
Yeah.
It was just-
You
it
looked
was
very
just-
confused at points.
At first, because I was like this, like a...
Yeah,
It's a bit of an interrogation.
Yeah,
it
I
is.
felt like Jack Bauer there for a moment. So-
Yeah, exactly. So one question I had to follow up, and it's like the last question. What did Reba mean by like you have to? It's very easy for you to pick yourself out. I mean, I would think in a family portrait, like everybody should be able to recognize themselves. But you have like a giant family. Is that why?
Don't really have a giant family, but really what it is that when we're always together, everyone is of the same race except myself. That's because I was adopted from Cambodia.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Okay, so then we got to hear more about this story. First off, is you're from Cambodia. So tell us, you were born in Cambodia.
Yes, I was actually born in Cambodia in 1986, and then I was raised there on the streets because my parents weren't able to take care of me, and then eventually I was then taken to an orphanage to be
You
cared
were
for.
on the streets.
Yeah.
How old were you again
I
when
believe
you were on the streets?
about 2 years old.
By yourself.
Yeah.
Do you,
Wow.
do you recall any of that, or?
I don't recall any of it, to be really honest. I have some video clips of my time in Cambodia, so some of the relief organizations did, but that's about it.
So you're wandering around by yourself in the streets, and how long did that go on for?
It went on for about a year or so, and then eventually I was able to be taken to an orphanage.
That's why they're like you didn't eat necessarily for a day.
Yeah, when I was adopted, I came with a bloated stomach, not raised up correctly with American standards of nutrition.
Okay. Wow. So then you went to this orphanage, and then you were 4 years old, right? You were adopted.
Correct.
And then tell us what happened. Then you came to the United States.
Well, there was an American couple that just wanted to seek adoption, and so they picked me. So I feel like I was chosen, and just reminds me how God chooses all of us. And so I was adopted by an American couple in 1990, flew to California, and then they met me there. But they lived in Delaware.
Delaware.
Out of
That's
all
look at the
the-
culture shock from Cambodia to Delaware. I know. So then, were they Christians?
Yes, great Christians, great men and women of God, and just truly very influenced my life to understand God's love. If anything, it was just a reflection of Jesus Christ as much as he has loved us without expecting us to love him back. That's what my parents did. They adopted me without any expectations for me to love them back.
Yeah.
And it was just truly remarkable to see God's reflection through their obedience with what God told them to do, I believe.
Now, do you remember at all being in California and meeting them for the first time, or were you still too young for all those moments?
It was really quick. It was a quick thing. I was in California just for the day, I met with them, reunited with them, and then I was taken right to Delaware.
Yeah.
So what are some of your earliest memories then? I mean, it was just always being with them?
My earliest memories, actually I remember it vividly, is my first time going to church. Because of my lack of food and nutrition, the moment I saw food, I lived in a wagon of food. So my parents would take me to church in a wagon of food.
Wow.
Because
Wagon?
I wanted food around me because I feared that there's a possibility I would not have food again.
So you literally were in a wagon.
I was literally
surrounded by food.
And then I finally went from that to holding an onion. And then from an onion, I remember some of my leaders in the church were like, I don't know if an onion would be really appealing for people to talk while you're talking with them. So they eventually gave me a ball in exchange for an onion. So I started playing with the ball. So
nice.
I kind of grew up really fast.
What's the wagon though? You guys rode in a wagon?
Yeah, it was like a rider wagon. It was really pretty awesome. Like I think from my understanding, it's like I was in this wagon with food around me. It was just awesome. It was like
pretty
I was like in
amazing
heaven.
right there.
That's really great.
So in terms of, when you look back on your childhood though, most of all your memories would be with your family in terms of that you recall. So was there a moment when you were older that they had to tell you that you had been adopted, or was that pretty clear to you from the fact that?
It was kind of clear, but my mother sat me down and just explained to me what took place in my life. But really what was the changing factor, what really kind of opened my eyes was I saw a video clip of me in the video being adopted. And then I have this like special drawer that has all my past things from Cambodia. And I saw a piece of clothing that literally matched the same clothing I was wearing in the video.
Wow.
So it was the first time in my life I realized, okay, this is not just a story, but this is reality for
happened.
myself.
Yeah.
So there's one thing to be told something, and it's another thing to
Yeah.
experience it and see the relation with it.
How old were you at that point?
I believe I was 13 at that point.
And how did that make you kind of altogether feel?
It really gave me a sense of urgency to find out more of my past, more of how I can help others that were in my situation.
Yeah. Well, then fast forward, like when did you actually get that passion and understanding for missions? Was it at that age?
Well, it was 13 to 16, but really 16 is when God gave me a vision, and He literally gave me the vision similar to the one like the Prince of Egypt when Moses is at the burning bush. It was so awesome. That kind of vision just really got my attention and said, now is the time to change the world for the better. Now is the time to tell the world that you are the voice for the voiceless. At the age of 16, I committed my life to God for the rest of my life for missions. And I just wanted to make sure that I could understand so I can share with the world what it's all about. And in 16, He said that you are the second generation Moses. So my whole story, every time I want to get inspired, anytime I want to remind myself what's my job duties, I just read the book of Exodus, or I watch the Prince of Egypt, you know what I mean?
That's right.
good.
And then you kind of carried this over to college, right? Tell us a little bit about
Correct.
that.
So after 16, I went to college. When I was 18, I went to Southeastern University in Florida, Lakeland, Florida.
Swamplands.
Yes.
That's why.
Lakes everywhere.
That's where my brother goes to school.
Oh, wow, wow. And so...
Flame, right? Is that what you guys were? Fire.
Yeah, fire, yes.
Fire, sorry.
And I just got done visiting them a couple weeks ago in Florida, and it was amazing. What I started is actually still going on. When I was in Florida, I had the opportunity to really be part of a great traveling music band throughout the U.S. But then at one point, I remember God really sharing with me. He said, music is great, worship is great, but let's share with the world that worship starts at the church, but it goes into the four nations, to the four corners of the nations. And so that's when He opened the Bible to me, called James 1:27. And that's true religion is to look after the orphans and widows. So at that time, I literally asked kind of our music manager, I said, I want to take a break from this, and I want to focus on something that God's really calling me. And so he definitely honored that wish. I started an organization called Lighthouse Ministry Missions Group. And so there was a homeless shelter nearby, and I got the yellow phone book out and I said, well, who can we help? And so I found out that there was this literally 2 miles away, and long story short, literally it grew from 3 to 300 students in 3 months at that college.
That we're going to help out the shelter.
We went to go help out in the shelter every single month. We were able to basically facilitate all this manpower. And God literally said to me, there's no need to invent the wheel or start another organization. Try to find those that are willing to help to go and help and change the world locally. And then what happened to grow then globally? Because we were like, well, we want to help out locally. How about let's start sending out teams? And at that time, the college was only sending about 3 or 4 missions trips teams a year. And now, after that, with not just me, but all the other partners together, now they're sending out 42 missions trips every single year.
Now, how did you see the perception of the students that you were among and working with, like how of missions change through the stuff that they've been doing?
It was humbling because these mission students, we were yearning for something more than just sitting in the room and watching a World Vision video and giving money. That's great, but I believe God has called us to act upon it. And action speaks louder than words. And so when James 1:27 says true religion is to look after the orphans and widows, that's requiring an action of us. So we want to look after these people. And these people were able to get involved. They were able to actually see the sense of urgency that God is not just a God of yesterday, but He's a God of today that cares for these people. Just as God has cared about the Israelites in Egypt, He also cares about the current Israelites here in our world today.
Absolutely.
Why do you think it's so important for our generation to be active in missions?
I believe it's very important because we have all these different people around the world constantly looking at the Christians, constantly looking at the church, and they're constantly questioning our credibility of why we exist. And if we can act upon God's love, then people will not just question, but they'll get involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, so you grew up, you're 4 years old, Cambodia, come to America, 16 years of age, really start hearing God call you, have a heart for missions, go to Southeastern. My question is, have you ever been back to Cambodia now?
Yes, I went to Cambodia 3 years after my college, and it just blew
That was the first time back?
First time back, and it blew me away, but I'll tell you, just a remarkable story what God did for me. There was an abandoned orphanage beside a humongous hotel in Cambodia. And someone said, you should check it out. It might be your orphanage. So I went and I checked it out. It was my orphanage. It was abandoned. 3 weeks later, after I checked it out, they completely demolished it because they were building another hotel there. It was truly
the
It
right
was a
time, yeah.
connection that allowed me to be connected with my past. Because I had some people come from Myanmar and some other countries to help me, and we did like a little tiny documentary search on could I find my family.
Right.
Because when I went to Cambodia, it was to do my international business internship at the U.S. Embassy and at other organizations there also. And so through that, it just allowed me to also have some free time to find my family. And of course, we weren't able to find it as easy as I thought because we kept hitting a bunch of roads into it. But that was my first time coming back to
Had you
Cambodia.
always wanted to go back? Or
At the age of 16, I wanted to go back. Before that, I just kind of didn't want to go around the whole
Sure.
idea of going to Cambodia. But when God called me and said, you're the voice for the voiceless, go and free my people, just as Moses had to tell the Pharaoh, you know?
you started having a heart to go then?
Oh, just
How did it make you feel while you were there?
It felt like there was a completion to my life, that this is my calling. And then to find out, you'll hear later, I guess, through the segment, that it wasn't just Cambodia was my calling.
Right.
But it was really worldwide.
Yeah. Well, in fact, you know, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and how you're reaching other people in the world.
Well, you know, my greatest calling in life that God has really equipped me for is to be a business consultant for nonprofit organizations worldwide. And I've always believed that using my special gift and talent would be able to empower those that might lack that. Not that they don't have it at all or that they are weak at it, but they just need some more assistance.
Yeah.
And so when I met CMC International, they were at a growth stage where they're expanding. And so they asked me and they said, would you come along and help us kind of do the business development of it? Because really, they want to expand further. And now I have the great honor and privilege to work with the president of the organization called CMC International. His name is Jonathan Morris, truly my mentor and my spiritual father. And he's my boss, but he's literally my best friend. And I basically help him and his team basically develop CMC International on the state side. Jonathan kind of develops on the overseas with the team leaders in different countries, and I stay on the state side and try to find out how can we do the internal development of it. And so that's really my calling. So I just got back from the Philippines, Myanmar, Cambodia, Thailand just a couple weeks ago, and I leave next week to Africa.
Wow. Well, you know, we've only got a couple more minutes, but, you know, there might be somebody that's watching at home who is thinking about missions.
Yeah.
What kind of encouragement do you want to give to them?
I want to encourage people that are thinking about missions to literally sacrifice yourself and to give your all to God, and God will use those that are willing. And that's what's so important. People think that they have to be perfect in everything, and they think they have to be qualified, and they think they have to have the degree, and they think they have to have all these things. But at the end of the day, God wants people to be willing. And with my own personal life, God uses the foolish to despise the wise. And who would ever think that someone from the streets of Cambodia would be living in the U.S. and working with an international organization that's literally not just helping one country, but over 29 countries worldwide.
Yeah, amazing. And if people want to find out more about CMC International, where can they find out more?
You can visit at www.forcmcinternational.org. That's www.4cmcinternational.org, and you'll be able to see the video clips, you'll be able to see the upcoming missions. And we have actually our internship program in the Philippines right now.
Oh,
so if you want to do
great.
an
So
internship
for people that are
program,
interested.
and then we also have other options that you can get involved in with short-term missions, long-term missions, or even if you just want to volunteer with some administration work. We'd love everyone to be
What
on
part of
board.
Africa are you guys going to?
We're going to Ethiopia.
My goodness.
And then a couple months after that, we're going then to Burundi and Uganda.
Have you been to Africa before?
Never been to Africa before.
Uh-oh.
Never been. So this is going to be an interesting adventure, but I believe God's going to, teach me so much from it. And one thing about this organization, and really what my job is, I get to learn from so many people. I go there with an open mind, an open heart, and open ears to listen. How can we meet their needs?
Absolutely.
And the thing about CMC International is that we are really trying to create sustainability for people in the world. When we go there, we literally go there, teach them, equip the leaders to work together to basically change the world.
Right. Well, I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing, and I hope somebody at home who's maybe interested in finding out more how they can get involved with missions will check out your organization, find out some other opportunities in their hometown or beyond. We'll be back with a great discussion at the Top 3 table.
Started buzzing. All for the dream to come true without you. Better believe, girl, I'm talking to you. It will never last. This time will pass. Ain't nothing going on. Now I gotta laugh. We first class is still going strong. That time is past. We having a blast singing the song. War changing fast. All love will last. Come on and sing along. Don't forget where you came from. Don't forget where you came from.
Hey, welcome back to Top 3. Been having a phenomenal show today talking to Timothy Parsons from CMC International, and really hopefully got to hear some of his story, but man, what a story it really is.
Yeah.
Grew up in Cambodia till the age of 4, and he was adopted to an American family, And then 20 some odd years later, he's now reaching the world, even places like Cambodia, with the message of Jesus. And I just think it's amazing. But Larissa, we were asking him some questions, and we were talking to him a little bit about some of his earliest memories. And he doesn't remember any of the days of being in Cambodia. He has to look back at video and footage to even remember that.
Do you know probably why?
Why is that?
Because trauma affects your memory. They say, the studies show that where memory is concerned, girls typically develop memories before boys, about 3 to 3.5, and boys typically start their memories just after 3.5.
Really?
Just a couple of months difference. But most people have memories before 4.
But what are some of your earliest
because
memories?
of the trauma.
I was just trying to think about that.
Because there's trauma. I
can't remember nothing.
I can remember, this is so funny, me and all my cousins and my sister, all of our first memory is right around the same time, or I should say the same day. My mom got remarried, to my stepdad in my aunt's backyard. And that's all of our first memory.
How old do you think you were?
I know exactly how old I was. I was 3.25 years old.
You remember that?
I remember the day.
That's amazing.
Go back to your
I think I was 3 years old, and okay, this is going to sound really embarrassing, but my parents sent me to the Miss Tiny California pageant. So I was like Honey Boo Boo, I was in a beauty pageant when I was 3.
Awesome.
How are we screaming at you?
How are we just finding this out about you?
Never knew that.
How could you keep this from us over the years? How?
Got secrets.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Preston, can you remember anything?
Wait. Back to the Honey Boo Boo. Tell us,
Honey
what
Boo Boo.
happened?
Well, I just remember, I actually came in 4th, and then,
You got disciplined for it.
No, I didn't get disciplined.
Did you have to
for
wear
it.
fake teeth and all that stuff?
No, but there's
do that?
kids.
Yeah,
I remember having to wear this green puffy dress with all this lace, and you do have to walk down the little runway and smile. But I think my parents just did it for fun. But there were some hardcore parents. My parents would talk about it afterwards. Wow, they're at every pageant, and they wanted to go.
They're tanning their kids.
Yeah, and then we could have gone to nationals in New Orleans or something, but my parents didn't want to spend that much money to go all the way. They just thought
What do you
California.
have to do? Talent and stuff? I don't know what we're talking about
there's
right now.
a there's a
Love it.
swimsuit competition. It's almost like a
children.
it's like a smaller version of an
pageant.
adult one.
It's a
Yeah,
toddler
so there's
pageant.
Oh my
an evening
goodness.
dress. There's some talent. I don't even know. I probably play piano or something.
Do you have any early memories?
Yeah, I have a little funny one. Since we family here at JCTV, but when I was about 3 or 4 years old, my mom she told me to get into the shower and whatnot. She wanted to bath me down, and I guess my sister was already in there. So, but I wanted to go to my grandpa's house 1 block down the road.
Oh no.
And when my mom was scrubbing down my sister, I decided to walk down the block butt naked.
Oh,
I
remember that.
I ended up making it to my grandparents' house, knocked on the door, they got me, my mom was freaking out. And
That's your first memory?
That was pretty awesome,
How could you forget that?
Yeah, hey, what can I say?
I don't have
know you were
any
naked.
Yeah, didn't at all.
Didn't care.
Just nah.
And did she give you a whooping afterwards?
I know
No.
she just loved on me.
Oh.
Was happy that.
How old
you're
were you
safe.
then, you think?
I was probably 3 or 4.
Really?
What about you?
I can't. I don't know. Maybe something from my background
Maybe
is
you're
But
tragic.
wait, but what's your earliest memory then?
I was just, as I'm asking the question, I've been trying to think the whole time. I cannot, my earliest
I
memory.
just woke up and I was
just
in high
like
school.
Kindergarten and stuff. I'm trying to think preschool,
Do
maybe.
you remember your first day of kindergarten?
Any girls chasing you?
I remember one time going to kindergarten and I lay on the floor and cried forever because my
I bet
mom
that was
left.
your first
So
day.
maybe it might have been preschool or kindergarten.
Oh.
Pretty tragic day.
That's
Can we move on?
probably okay. All right.
Absolutely. But I was thinking about him these early memories, but then at 16 he has this really kind of cool God encounter moment where he has this vision. Has there ever been a moment maybe in your life where you can remember God giving you a vision, God putting a passion in your life for something maybe more than where you were at? Can you remember that at all? I know for me when I was 17, I just had this moment when I was actually in Australia. Preston's getting ready to go there at this church conference, and I just had this real kind of God encounter moment where I just really heard God speak to me that you're called to preach and called to do ministry. I'll never ever forget it. It stuck with me. Anything like that for you guys?
I actually was 16 and I thought I was brainwashed into thinking I'd be a doctor when I grew up, all my life. And then I had this moment where I just knew I don't like blood, I don't like guts, and I just don't want to be a doctor. But then God then told me well, you're going to do music, which was the craziest 180 that could ever happen.
Yeah.
So I definitely knew that was from God.
Because there's not a lot of singing doctors out there.
No,
Patch Adams.
no. Yeah.
Ooh, that'll preach.
Yeah.
What about you, Preston?
For me, it had to be probably, it was nothing like audible, like you are going to do this, but it was more like.
Pick up thy skateboard.
It was more like I was already skateboarding, but then it kind of just showed me like, look, with the skateboarding generation of what it is, a lot of the kids come from broken homes and they're just looking for, something. So I was like, perfect, I'm in the perfect spot. So I fit right in there, so that's what I've been doing ever since.
I love that.
Okay, I have the opposite.
Okay.
Okay. I was going through this period. I'll say my stepdad had a lot to do with it. He likes charts and graphs, and he was like researching.
You're totally a charts and graph kind of girl.
I am too, but he is like, he owns them. Like he'll pull them down from all. And he was like researching demons and the fallen angels and just really diving into the Old Testament. And so I kind of started praying about it, and I remember driving down the road in the dark and thinking, you know what, God, I want to see into that realm. If it's there, I want to see it. And when I turned the corner, I saw this like giant, standing taller than anything else around, looked like a black wing. And when I got closer, I realized it was the side of this building. And I realized I never wanted to see into that world.
That's you almost seen something.
You were scaring me the whole time.
Yeah,
I said, no, I don't, never mind.
Wow.
Just kidding. So, I had the opposite on that one.
Wow.
I hear what you're saying. Well, I just love Timothy's story today a whole lot about what he was talking about, his passion, really reaching the world for the cause of Jesus Christ, man. And, this is not a new thought, man. This is something that we see throughout the Bible. He told the story about Moses going and freeing people and bringing, really restoration and freedom. But, man, throughout the Bible, we see Jesus, that he sends us to go into the world. In fact, his last words to us in Matthew chapter 28 are very famous, to go out into all the world and preach the gospel. But man, all you have to do is look at the very, very first few chapters of the gospel, Luke chapter 2, that Jesus came to us, man. I mean, God of the heavens and the earth, he comes in the form of a little baby into a manger because he wants a relationship with you and me. And we always see this step, that God takes a step towards us, that God pursues us. And what I love about our God is that our God always pursues us. And once we have relationship with him, it's crazy. He puts the same mandate upon us. In one sense, he says, I'm the light of the world. But then in the next sense, after we've received him, he calls us the light of the world. And really, the fact is that he came to us, but now that he's come to us, he sends us out into the world to go and bring this good news, this message everywhere that we go. And I don't know who you are today. I don't know what maybe you're doing in life right now, young or old, but man, I want to challenge you, whether it's in your neighborhood, your school, your university, that you'd step out into your world with the good news of Jesus Christ. Maybe you would even take a bigger step. Maybe you would go and you check out what Timothy and his entire organization are doing. Maybe you jump on one of those short-term missions trips or one of those long-term missions trips, or maybe you'd be an intern. Maybe you'd sacrifice yourself to see Jesus lifted up. The Bible says, if I be lifted up, Jesus is speaking, then I'll draw all men unto me. And that's really what our purpose is right here at JCTV, that we lift up the name of Jesus and that people would be drawn to him. And today, since there's people that are watching right now that you don't even have a relationship with Jesus, but right now he's pursuing you, he's speaking to you, and he wants to tell you that he loves you and he's got a plan for you. But you have to open up your heart and let him in. I want to pray with you right now. If you're out there and you're watching, you never received Jesus before, man. He came 2,000 years ago, died up on a cross for your sins and for my sins, and he took your place. And today, he has this incredible life, this abundant life. He's got a plan for you. Why don't you receive him? Pray this prayer for me. Say, Dear Jesus, Lord, I believe in you. Lord, I ask that you take all my sins, Lord, that you'd wash me clean. God, forgive my past, my present, Lord. Even take my future, Jesus. I place it in your hands. Today, Lord, I surrender my life over to you. I love you, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
Hey, we want to thank all our guests today. Timothy Parsons, please check out his website. Also, SOG Crew has been in the house. Find us at jctv.org. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. And we will see you next time right here on Top 3.
Every weekend, everybody has a dream, but I'm speechless. Don't have a dream, homie, then you need this. I'm on top of the world just speaking. My friends like I was there last weekend. Me too, so we kicked it. I'm so sad that you had to miss it. Back to the topic that we were talking about. Had to get over you when I'm here, no doubt.